What is up, guys? So my locals hosted its first Genesys tournament over the weekend, and obviously I was going to take Cyber Dragon. So this is how it went. Unfortunately, only 4 people showed up. So we basically played a round robin tournament instead, so everyone faced each other. We had 3 rounds. So in round 1, I'm up against Fire King. Reviewing this footage, I apologise for the glare. There's unfortunately not much I could have done about that from this angle. But anyway, so my opponent activates, it's the High Tide on Fire Island retrain for the Fire King card, and so he adds a Fire King card from deck to hand, and that is met with a droll. I do have a Molchami Fualos in hand as well, but unfortunately both are kind of ineffective against Fire King. So he summons Rangbali and passes with 2 sets. So, this is a blind second Cyber Dragon list, so it's heavy aggro on and dead set on trying to OTK. So I start with a hard-drawn Cyber Dragon. There are actually 2 in the list because I'm on 3 Jormungandr, and follow that up with Jormungandr to get the other Cyber Dragon out of the deck. Jormungandr is a really great card in going second, especially in Genesys, because there's no link monsters. For one, and then it puts a lot of pressure on the opponent because the moment you reveal it, it is threatening infinity. So here he activates Skyburn to get rid of the Rangbali and 1 Cyber Dragon. This is because he does have a Kirin in hand, so he's going to chain it here and destroy the Rangbali and then get rid of the one of the Cyber Dragons. So Skyburn is simultaneous destruction, so it doesn't need all 3 to remain on the field to resolve. So Kirin is going to summon itself. So Rangbali, no. So he summons the Ulti Garunix and destroys a Kirin from deck. So the Kirin will trigger getting the Rangbali back, but then destroying the other Cyber Dragon. So I normal summon Cyber Dragon Core here. So I'm deliberating what I search here because this is not an easy board to break. He has a spell trap negate at this point. I can try and bait it out with emergency, but whatever is dropped afterwards, like spell-wise, is going to get negated if the emergency fails. He does forget that emergency is not a use once per turn, it's an activate once per turn here. So he thinks about it for a bit, and he does ultimately choose to negate the activation. But this means that emergency can trigger, and so I can discard this useless Ultimate Slayer to add it back and then activate it again. So he comes to this realization now that I've done this, and so I grab Nakshta so that I can get back one of my Cyber Dragons from the graveyard. So I discard the useless Fualos here, and use the effects to try and get a Cyber Dragon back, but he chains, I can't remember what this card is. Oh, it's Spell Card Monster Reborn, so he takes the Cyber Dragon that I've targeted, so Nakshta won't be able to resolve here. Now, this doesn't mean I'm out of plays. I can still make some plays here. Most importantly, I'm not running polymerization in this build. It was a last-minute decision to cut it because I felt like it wouldn't come up except for extremely niche scenarios. Lo and behold, I'm in an extremely niche scenario now where I have nothing to do, but I could definitely use that poly to make a rampage. But because he has the Cyber Dragon, I can just contact fuse with it because one of the interesting things about this format is Chimeratech Fortress Dragon, despite the fact that there's no link monsters, and there's especially no link 1 monsters, Chimeratech Fortress Dragon is interestingly positioned because it is almost a proxy card for a link monster. It functions the same way, it's just that after resolving Chimera, you can only use cyber monsters, but if the deck is mostly cyber monsters anyway, then there's not a problem with it. And moreover, if Cyber Dragon ever goes into the spell trap zone, you can use the you can use what you have to in the Cyber Dragon in the spell trap zone with some machine monsters on the field. So this is a misplay, and I elaborate on this later. And I realise I've already made a mistake, so I contact fuse 3 monsters for a 3k fortress. what I should have done is used one Cyber Dragon and one of my Cyber Dragons to make one fortress, then contact fuse the others to make another fortress, then overlaid both for Dingirsu. Because Dingirsu is actually very well positioned in this matchup because it has destruction protection, and Fire King's whole thing is destroying by card effects. So it would have saved me here because he summons Jurak Megalo and then crashes it so that he can dump Asterio from the deck. So he now has, from the extra deck, so now he has a board wipe on my own turn. This isn't going to matter though, because this misplay is so costly. So making a 3k fortress here was not the right move. So he's also activated Sacred Garunix, I think, here, because it triggers on the destruction of any fire monster by battle or card effect. So he's deciding what he's going to destroy from deck here. It is very interesting to see Fire King working in this format, because obviously Fire King is pointed. I don't know if this is justified, but if this pointing is justified for Fire King, because it's a good deck, but it's not a deck that I feel like needs the points, or is justified to have the points. Nevertheless, so he's going to dismantle my board, and I'm basically left with nothing. He also he destroyed an Avatar from the deck, which allowed him to get back the Kirin, and the Kirin will be destroyed at the end phase, and will allow him to summon back the Avatar. So now he has a spell trap negate, and a monster negate, and I'm in top deck mode. So what I top deck is not going to help here. I do attempt to activate Core, but this is going to be met with the activation negated. And at this point it is basically game over, so I scoop up my cards. Alright, so game 2. I believe I made him start again? Or no, I went first this time. This is a thing that I do a lot. If you've seen from my previous Locals videos with Cyber Dragon K9, where I will often mind game the side deck. You'll see this comes back to bite me a bit later, because I overthink this. But for now, this worked, because he sided into going first, because he believes that the aggro Cyber Dragon deck desperately wants to go second. So I'm not going to make the most magnificent end board here, especially since I haven't drawn into any of my go first cards here. There are a couple of go second cards that I am playing. Final Bringer of the End Times and Enemy Controller are actually decently positioned for going first as well, just because they are quick plays, and they can help maneuver around the board state, or any given board state with monsters involved. So I'm going through the standard, all the standard stuff. I've activated Horizon here, so I've sent some stuff. Eternity is in the graveyard, which is really good for me because it means that I can protect any Rampage from a possible Kirin, for instance, or a Skyburn. So I'm thinking on what to add with Core, and I ultimately go with Cybernetic Overflow here, which I've sided in. This is a pretty good interruption piece, just because we can now consistently make Infinity, so what I'm going to basically end on is Infinity and Overflow, with some other cards set. I believe I've also sided in DD Crow. It's decent here. I don't think it comes up in this game. But yeah, so the rev system comes down to summon the Cyber Dragon I've just added from hand. This seems janky on paper, but this allows me to make Nova and Infinity. I get back the Chimera Tech, the Cyber Dragon Naxta, and then summon the Chimera back on top of it, and then make Infinity. And I am going to go for the Power Bond stuff here, although I don't really have an avenue to end on. Unfortunately, I can't get to my desired end board of Infinity and another rank 5, or Infinity and Dingirsu. Because I'm locked into using Cyber Monsters, Power Bond into Rampage and then contact fusing for 2 fortresses here is out of the question because Chimera Tech Rampage is not a cyber monster. Nevertheless, Power Bond comes down, banishing the materials from the graveyard thanks to Chimera and summoning the Rampage, and then I just put some more stuff in the graveyard so the overflow is set up to wipe out as many cards as possible. I don't believe I contact fused everything away. I think I made 1 fortress here. So I'm just deciding what I send. So I send a Jormungandr because, I mean, I don't really need another. Both Cyber Dragons are out of the deck, I think. I also sided out 2 Jormungandr anyway because going first you really don't want to see it in your opening hand. So yes, I do contact fuse away the Chimera and the Nakshta for the Chimera Fortress Dragon. So I set 2 cards. I believe one of them is Final Bringer, and the other one is Overflow. And I have a DD Crow in hand, but I don't believe this DD Crow comes up in this game. So, one of the only kind of play he really has is the Fire King Island. So he attempts to use it, and I chain Final Bringer to destroy the Cyber Dragon Core and the Fire King Island. So that won't be coming up. He summons, I think that's Ponix. And he uses the effect, that's fine. But, so he grabs Skyburn, and obviously Skyburn is not resolving here. I know to hold the Infinity for the Skyburn now. So he's just thinking about what he does next. He is just going to go straight for the Skyburn. The Infinity is going to negate the activation of Skyburn. And I think he's going to crash here. I can't remember. Yeah, so he attempts to crash. The crash is successful. He then, in the main phase 2, activates the Fire Recovery to try and get the Ponix back, but I DD Crow this, and that is basically the end of the game. The next turn, the Rampage is still at 42, so I have all the power I need. So, game 3. So, I've sided back into going second, as I believe he was going to make me go second anyway. So, unfortunately, he's bricked, and he also admitted afterwards that he made a mistake here by setting this Ulcanix instead of summoning it, because it put the Skyburn that he set offline. So, effectively, this board is free reign for me. I special summon Cyber Dragon. He does have an IDP set, as you can see, which does come up a little bit, but not too much. So Cyber Dragon comes down, and Core comes down grabbing the Horizon. Horizon is incredibly good in this matchup just because it helps get cards into the graveyard, which typically the combo for advanced format, or modern format, is like Link Monsters get your cards into the graveyard. The combo is heavily manufactured by Konami, thank you, and so it goes through all the motions to get as many cards into the hand and into the graveyard as it needs to. But without Link Monsters, we lose that mechanism. So anyway, IDP is dropped here, so he's going to grab the Worm out of the graveyard and then banish it and the Cyber Dragon, cutting off my rank 5 plays. So that does hamper me a little bit. Not a lot. I still have some pushing power. So I banish the Eternity preemptively and then go for Jormungandr. He has a monster, so it's fair game. So this will grab the second Cyber Dragon out of the deck, and I once again have rank 5 access. So I'm going to make the Nova detach to summon back the Nakshta. The Nakshta will grab back the Cyber Dragon, and then I'll make Infinity. So then the Power Bond is dropped, fusing the hard-drawn Power Bond, I might add, fusing away the Core and the Nakshta for the Rampage, popping the other 2 back row, and this is basically game. So yeah, we just play this out. So I send the cards from deck to graveyard. This doesn't matter at this point, but I send the Hertz and the Core. So the Core is added back just for follow-up, and then we swing in for big numbers. Alright, so round 2. I'm up against Mermail Atlantean here. I'm surprised he was able to actually put a list together. Some of the cards are pretty high in points. I think he's on 1 Neptibus and 1 Dragoon because they're both like a heavy amount of points each. He goes straight for the Deep Sea Minstrel, I think it is, to take the final bringer out of my hand. I have absolutely no interaction in my hand here. I drew Fool Lost twice against Fire King, which does nothing, but I drew and also Droll, but I didn't draw a single hand trap in game 1 against Mermaid Atlantean. You love to see it. Anyway, so he's going to combo off. He summons Neptibus, sends Dragoon, adds 2 things. The Neptibus came off of the Shadow Squad that he discarded for the Deep Sea Minstrel. So this is going to get him, I think it's Coelacanth. It's a weird pronunciation. So that's going to allow him to summon a bunch of cards by discarding for cost. Why is all of water discard for cost? So anyway, he has Dragoon, he gets the, I think that's Abyss Pike, he gets the Croco Fish thing, and I think he also gets, that's the Fishborg card that came out somewhat recently. So he adds back the fly fish thing because it adds itself back when it's discarded, for card effect. So he goes for the Deep Sea Prima Donna. He does make a misplay though. He forgets to use the effect of Deep Sea Prima Donna. To put the final bringer back into the deck. So the board he makes isn't going to be. It's very strong for Genesys, but with our deck, it's not too unbreakable. So he does summon Creation, and puts the Sea Stealth 2 into play. So this is going to make it so that neither player can have more than one non-water monster on the field. So this is pretty strong. He is also going to Synchro Summon for the Ice Barrier, for the big Ice Barrier, I think it's Lancia, which is also very strong. Thankfully, I think because he forgets to put the final bringer back into the deck, back into my deck, I will have the tools to deal with this board. So he's just thinking about what he makes here, realizing that the field isn't necessarily optimal. So he's going to basically make Silent Honor Arc here to clear up a zone. Because he can't make Stealth Kraken because that will basically undo what the Koreashin is doing. So I'm just reading Sea Stealth. The most important thing really is that it's treated as Umi, but it does prevent me from targeting his water monsters with monster effects. That is very important because a lot of things like Final Bringer can affect the board. Can affect his water monsters because of this. So he's just thinking about what he makes. He ultimately does choose to make Silent Honor Arc here with his Fishborg monster and the Atlantean Dragoons. This clears up a space so that he can perform a normal summon, because he hasn't actually done that yet. And he will Synchro Summon the big Lancia guy. So this is a very strong card, because he can summon an Ice Barrier from deck, or extra deck, up to twice per turn, once per chain. And the Ice Barrier that he would summon from the deck forces the player, would force me to discard a card in order to actually be able to resolve any monster effect. So I'm just confirming what everything on the board is doing here. So the only thing that's actually doing anything right now is this Ice Barrier Dragon. So I'm just looking at what my own card's wording does, just so I make sure I do this right. So the first thing I do is Ultimate Slayer target the Lancia to shuffle it back. Malong can then put the Sea Stealth back into the hand. This turns off Koreashin. So now his board is basically neutralized from here. Nothing on the board actually does anything anymore. So from here I'm safe to just fire off Horizon, sending Cyber Dragon and Worm. and adding the... I think I just add core here, because core can then grab emergency anyway, and with the point spread of his deck, there's no way he's running Ash anyway. So he does fire off Abyss Right, I think that is. Discards the Sea Stealth so that he can draw one, hopefully drawing into a hand trap, I suppose. So yeah, I special summon Cyber Dragon, I normal core, grabbing the emergency, I believe. Or it might just be the realm. Yeah, it is the realm. So I'm just going for the game here. Worm is drop. Worm comes down, sending the Cyber Dragon Hurts, I think, grabbing back the Horizon. I send Naxta, not Hurts. So I have rank 5 access, so that makes Nova and Infinity. I do detach to special summon back the Naxta to summon back the Cyber Dragon, then go for Infinity, taking the Silent Honor Arc. Kind of ironic, it being the material. Just making sure I read what the Mermelech Seas does, to see if it does anything at all, but I should already know that it doesn't. So Realm is dropped, grabbing the Chimera. The Chimera will be additionally normal summoned. I'll discard the Horizon to grab Power Bond, because for once I didn't hard draw it. Infinity is... I don't know why I pointed at Infinity here. So finally I get to do the double contact fuse into Dingirsu to send the Mermelech Seas to the graveyard, and that's game. Alright, so game 2. Fair warning, this is a long one. And unfortunately it doesn't end any of the ways we want, either of us want. So as you can see, I've hard drawn Power Bond here. I'm not very happy about this. I never am. That compilation of me drawing Power Bond will be coming sometime in the near future. So yeah, so I make a mistake here. I alluded to this in as I was commenting over round 1. I make a mistake in the siding. I believe he is going to send me first because he knows Mermel is strong enough to crack Cyber Dragon's board going second. Unfortunately, this is a huge misread. He just opts to go first, and his hand isn't the strongest, but he can put up some interruption. So he gets straight to the Kurleakanth, and I don't have any response because I've sided into going first, and that means, spoiler alert, floodgates. Not my favourite way to play, but that's how you auto-win matchups with an aggro deck. So anyway, he's going to summon a bunch from the deck, but he doesn't really have any good discards. The double, because he did double Abyss Right to get that Kurleakanth on board. So and all of the monsters that Kurleakanth summons are negated. Excellent foresight for such an old card, to be honest, even though it summons so many cards from deck. So from here, I think he makes the Lancia again. And I don't believe he makes much else in the way of interruption. I don't remember him making a huge board here. So he's just thinking about what he summons, and yeah, he goes for the Lancia. He does also have the Virtue Stream. Okay, so he goes for Stealth Kraken, that's what it was. This is mildly annoying, but not too much. Thankfully, Nova doesn't care about the attribute of the materials, only Infinity does, and that's only if you're hard making Infinity. So this isn't a hindrance to me. I don't tell him this, obviously, but yeah, this isn't a hindrance to me. So he makes the big Synchro Lancia. This will actually have chances to trigger here, because my hand is not well positioned for breaking boards, it's for going first. So he sets 2 cards, one of them is the Virtue Stream, and passes for turn. I draw the draw after all of this transpires, of course. So I'm just making sure I know what the Lancia does. I didn't really have to read it in the previous game, because I knew that nothing he had would be able to respond to Ultimate Slayer. But now I actually have to understand what it does. and it's very strong. So, I have to approach this in a very different way. I could just scoop it up here, but this board is breakable with engine or over a couple of turns. Thankfully, due to the nature of cost, Horizon can get cards into the graveyard where they need to be. So I discard a Cyber Dragon and a Worm once again, just to make sure everything is fine. And then I believe I add Core. Most importantly, as per the previous game where I sided into going first, I've sided out 2 Jormungandr, so I still have 2 Cyber Dragon in the deck, but anyway, Core is dropped, so I grab the emergency. So this is where I activate emergency, grab the single Jormungandr that remains in the deck, so that I can put instant rank 5 access on. So yeah, so I grab Jormungandr. I have to make a quick cut here because I had to resolve a ruling query for the other table. But yeah, so Jormungandr is going to come down with Cyber Dragon. So this will give me instant rank 5 access. And I'm just explaining how the card works to him, just so that he knows if there's a place to interrupt. I believe here he interrupts with Stealth Kraken to get rid of the Cyber Dragon. No, he goes for the Jormungandr, that's one. So, from this, I banish the Eternity so that it is so that my fusions are protected this turn from targeting and destruction effects. And I'm just making sure, doubly sure that I read what Lancia does, because that's the card I'm really afraid of now. So I summon back Worm from the graveyard, since this will put rank 5 access back on the board. This will help to attempt to neutralize the Lancia. So I'm just explaining how the Worm works now, because he would have to trigger this, chain this to the activation after the cost is paid. So I get the emergency back. And I believe here he activates Virtue Stream, so he's going to get rid of both Worm and Cyber Dragon, and pop his Wingfish. And Hertz is also going to trigger to add a Cyber Dragon back, since I sent that with the Worm. So this is the ice barrier that he summons. Yeah, so this means that every time I want to activate a card effect, when it resolves, I have to discard a card or it's negated. So I summon Rampage, I attempt to pop the back row. I should have actually let this resolve by not discard, and I should have actually just not discarded on resolution, because he chained it anyway. It is the... I can't say it because of the glare, but it's Forbidden Lance. So it doesn't matter anyway, so I shouldn't have discarded for this, because it was going to be taken off the board anyway. And I think I motioned that was an unnecessary discard anyway. So next I activate Rampage's effect. I'm going to have to obviously discard for this as well. So from the deck, I'm going to send a Core, and I believe I send Naxtra. No, I send 2 Cores, because Hertz is already in the graveyard, so Naxtra is not well served being in the graveyard, because I won't have a way to get it out of the graveyard. So I smack into the small ice barrier and the Stealth Kraken to get it off the board, because if I clear the Lancia, he's going to summon Trishula Zero, which is not a great card. But then I decide I am going to anyway. The Trishula Zero does not target, so it is going to banish the Rampage. So I'm just reading it, just to make sure I know what it does. And obviously I'm double confirming that Eternity is targeting in Destruction Protection, which is so it does not protect against Trishula Zero. I set 1 card and just end my turn here. So I believe I know what this card is at this point. I think this is Metaverse. So this is going to be a not fun situation in a couple of turns. But he sets and I think he passes. Yeah, I think he can't. I think he attacked actually. Then on my next turn he activates Mistaken Arrest. That's fine. I don't have any cards to search, so I banish Core to summon Naxta from the deck. As I alluded to earlier, I didn't want to dump Naxta because I needed it in the deck so that Core could summon it. So yeah, it's going to try and get me back a Cyber Dragon. This all resolves. I don't have anything to, I don't have any search effects, so it's fine. And I have a Final Bringer to take out the Trishula. So the Trishula will then summon the smaller Trishula, except he actually doesn't play it. So I'm in the clear, so I can just smack in for 21. So now we're in kind of a top deck war at this point. So he can't search either because the Mistaken Arrest lasts until the end of the next turn after it's activated, which means it would affect him on his turn as well. Now I've drawn into Metaverse, I just caught a glance of it, so that is going to be set. And I can't remember what that other face down is, but I think it's a dud card. So he's drawn the Poseidra, so he summons it by discarding, that's a shark, I can't remember which one it is. So he chooses the back row, oh it's Lost Wind, that's what it is. So that gets negated and halved, so it won't be able to attack over my Cyber Dragon. He activates the Shadow Squad that he sent to the deck from the deck to the graveyard as cost, to summon the Neptibus. The Neptibus will trigger to send Dragoon and to grab something from the deck. Yeah, so he sends the Dragoon and grabs the Abystrite. So that's the third Abystrite. So I draw here. So he activates Abystrite to try and tribute the Neptibus. So that will summon from the deck. So I chain Metaverse here because that is about to be his third summon. He cannot add the card to the hand because Droll is in play, so he has to summon here. So the Metaverse will put Summon Break on the field, and how this works is that it does, just like Summon Limit, it remembers the number of summons that took place before it was activated. But if you can use Metaverse to put it on the field on before exactly the third summon takes place during the main phase 1, it triggers and it becomes the end phase. So I've basically just turn skipped him. Unfortunately, this doesn't do me that much good, so I draw Claw, but it's kind of useless at this stage. I haven't activated Chimera yet, but I already had the Power Bond, so Chimera's not doing much here, and Worm is already resolved as well. So all this is really doing is giving me something to set. So I attack over the halved Poseidra with Cyber Dragon, and then I set the Chimera. So he's just asking if Realm does anything during his turn. Obviously it doesn't. So he has that second Poseidra on the field. You can't see it because of the glare, but that's the second Poseidra. So he's just looking through his extra deck to see if there's anything he can do here. So he's going to summon the Deep Sea, I forget, Minstrel I think it is. And he's going to Synchro Summon the big Ice Jade Egerin. I can set the Lost Wind directly from the graveyard because he's summoned from the extra deck, but it is going to be banished when it leaves the field next. So he is just going to attack over the Cyber Dragon. I let this go through because obviously Lost Wind can't activate here. So yeah, now we're in top deck war. I am going to... I think I normal summon the... I think I normal summon Claw here because I've top decked another one. If I use the Lost Wind here, I can halve the Egerin, so it will go down to 1500, which is just small enough that Claw can attack over it. So I activate it, he chains it in response, but that only prevents it from being chained in response only prevents it from being activate it, from being destroyed by card effects. So I can still beat over it for 100 damage. So, yeah, so he draws dead, I attack for 16, for 1600. I've got a crow, so I can stop something from being revived from the graveyard, but he has a 3 Abyss Strike in the graveyard, so there's no way I can stop that from resolving. This will come into play later, though. So he has 2 cards in hand, and he summons the Abyss Pike and discards another Shark. So this will let him add a Mermail from deck to hand. I believe he adds Shadow Squad here. He was looking for Abyss Strike, but he realizes that all 3 are in the graveyard. So he has targets, but not the one he wants. And he chooses Shadow Squad here. And I think these both have the same amount of attack. He forgets that the Chimera is what I set, so he attacks into it and takes 500 here. So he passes for turn here because he can do the Shadow Squad during his own turn. And I think here, time is about to be called, which is why this game doesn't end the way either of us want. Which is a shame, because I actually have game here. As you can see, I'm talking, that's what I'm gesturing about here. So I have Final Bringer, so I can destroy the Chimera and the Abyss Pike, and then I have DD Crow for the Shadow, to take the Shadow Squad out. So yeah, that concludes a game that took way too long and didn't end the way either of us wanted. On to round 3, I'm against Shining Sarcophagus. Now, this is a very tricky matchup for me because it doesn't care about banishing, so it's running Shifter. It also runs Dimensional Fissure and Macro, which don't cost any points. I do not know why that is the case, but this is really not good for me. Because 90% of the deck does not function under Shifter. So this is bad. So he summons the Gadget, gets the Shining Sark. The Shining Sark will get him the Ties That Bind, and that will allow him to summon the Silent Swordsman and the Silent Magician out of the deck. And while I can't remember what each one does off the top of my head, one is a target negate and the other is a spell negate. So you're going to see that the Shifter comes up in a bad way here, really badly. So he summons both the Silent Swordsman and the Silent Magician. As I said, target and spell negate. He just passes here. So in my opening hand, I have double Raigeki, and so one of them is going to get negated by the spell negate, but then the other one is going to resolve. So I am going to be able to wipe his board here. So yeah, the Raigeki comes down, one of them gets negated, another one comes down to wipe the board. For those wondering why I'm playing Raigeki over Dark Hole, it's a really stupid First World Yu-Gi-Oh! Problem reason, which is, I mean, at first I didn't want to play a card that could potentially wipe my own board, but also because I don't own a sparkly copy of it. So the Gadget, when it's destroyed, is going to get the Stronghold. So I'm going to normal summon Core and attempt to activate its effect. This will resolve, but I think he activates Droll here. Although, now that I'm reviewing this footage back, he should not have been able to, because Droll says it has to be discarded to the graveyard. So he can't actually do this. But it doesn't... I don't think this matters in the long run. I also have to make a quick cut here as well, as you may have noticed, because we were handed like participation stuff. So yeah, so I make the read that he has Droll in his hand, so I activate Realm to grab so I grab Realm and then immediately grab Chimera instead of going for any kind of longer route. I also kind of screwed up because I think I should have gone for Jormungandr first and then board wiped. Because now he doesn't have any field presence, so I can't put a rank 5 on board. So I activate Power Bond here and try to destroy all of his back row. I didn't realize that Shining Sark cannot be destroyed by monster effects. So I'm just reading that here and going, wait, really? But yeah, so I have a 4200 Rampage, but there is another problem. So Rampage works by the wording, and if you do, is basically conditional on the cards actually going to the graveyard. So if the cards cannot go to the graveyard that it sends, it cannot gain the extra attacks. So regardless of whether I activate it or not, Chimera Tech Rampage has 1 attack. On his following turn, he draws into Dimensional Fissure, but he also has Archfiend, I think it's Archfiend's Advent in his hand, so he can normal summon that without tributing, and just take control of my Rampage. So that's not fun, and that's basically just going to be the end of the game. So I'm going to get OTK'd on the crackback here. So firstly, I think he activates Dimensional Fissure first, or he just goes for Archfiend Advent. He also has the Grandora here, which gains attack for each banished card, and all of his cards are basically banished. But first he's going to activate the Shining Sark. I think that's where he grabs the Grandora. So yeah, he grabs the Archfiend. That's the Grandora, I think. Yeah. He already has the Advent in his hand. So he normal summons that. I'm just reading what the Grandora does. But yeah, so yeah, he's going to activate Dimensional Fissure. He's going to drop the Archfiend Advent. So he's going to take control of the Rampage here, which is extremely annoying. So he has already quite the arsenal on him. Then he's going to drop the Grandora. It's going to be gaining 3,600 attack, I believe. So this is enough for game, basically, because the Rampage is at 42, and he has a 3/6 and a 2/5. So yeah, he's going to attack over the Chimera, and that's game, basically. Alright, so game 2, I opt to go second still. So he's basically going to end on the exact same board as he did before. Except this time he activates the Shining Sark first, which grabs the gadgets, which will grab the Ties That Bind, which will then grab the Silent Swordsman and the Silent Magician. So yeah, there's the Ties That Bind. That will grab the Silent Swordsman and the Silent Magician. Thankfully, there's no Dimension Shifter this time. Don't know why that card is as low point as it is. I think I've talked about that already, but I'm still going to echo that here. The same kind of goes for Droll, to be honest. That's my biggest gripe about Genesys format, is that a lot of like the normal staples are gone, but then the most toxic ones are like low points. So Ash and like all the Mulch armies and Imperm, they all cost like at least 7 points. But then you have like Droll and Nib and Shifter at lower than 7 points, and that feels really egregious to me. So anyway, Jormungandr hits the field, and I make Nova and Infinity. I do make a misstep here which will cost me later. So I do attempt to take one of the cards as material. I try to take the Spell Negate. The target negate will negate this, but it doesn't negate the activation and destroy. So I should not. So I oh no. So I activate Raigeki. He chains to negate the Raigeki. I should have just let this go. Because I didn't need. All I needed to do was bait it out here. So anyway, Realm is dropped, grabbing Chimera. Chimera will discard Ultimate Slayer to grab Power Bond. Because the Infinity has been neutralized, unfortunately, I am now vulnerable to the nib in his hand, and it doesn't matter anyway because I'm going to contact Fuse both to make Rampage, to make the fortress, this so that I can trigger the Chimera. No, I did this because Infinity was already used up. So I don't know why I fired the worm here. This was a misstep, because I feel like I already had the read on Nibiru here, but I send the Naxta so that I can get enough Cyber Dragons in the graveyard. So I make Rampage here and I send the 2, but I'm just going to run into a Nib. The Hurts will get me back the core, but it won't matter. It will get me back the Naxta. That's it. So yeah, end of main, he's going to Nib here, and this is going to be a 2900 token. So yeah, unfortunately, because I used the Cyberdark Worm before the end, I basically have absolutely no defense. So I'm just going to set 1 and pass, and the 1 is useless. So I think it's a Horizon or something. So he's going to Shining Spark, grab the Archfiend Advent. He'll just be able to summon it without tributing, take my token, and attack. And like that's game right there. So very anticlimactic game. Whiffing, like missing lethal twice, 2 games in a row, and then getting OTK'd on the crackback is not the greatest feeling, but certainly learned a lot about Shining Sark today, having never faced it or even never read any of the cards in my life. Alright, so this is the list. As you can see, it's quite focused on one thing, and that's having a lot of pressure. So 3 core, 3 claw, 3 Jormungandr. Core and claw are starters, although there is no 1-card combo OTK in this deck if you go through the start with core, the claw line. Core is a 1-card OTK since you'll have 2 bodies, which will make Fortress, so that will be your proxy link too. 2 Cyber Dragon because I'm on 3 Jormungandr. I don't want to play 3 because it's bricky, but 2 seems just about right for that since it's a soft Garnet, but it also has some functionality. 1 Hurts, 1 Naxta. I don't know if I want 2 Hurts or not. I feel like in the grind game is not something I should be concerned about, even though I did go to a grind game against Mermail in round 2. So I don't know if I want a second or not, but it might be useful in the future. 1 Chimera, 1 Worm is, I think, normal. I don't think I would want those in any other ratio. Worm being a once per duel is stupid, but, you know. So 3 Emergency, 3 Horizon. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Horizon is useful here because you really need cards in the graveyard. So playing 3 maximizes your chances of opening it, and not needing to use one of your starters on it. It does also obviously require something like to have one of your cyber monsters in hand to use it, but that's a small price to pay, I think, especially in a format where Ash is not too prevalent, because it's been basically pointed out by the point system. 2 Realm because it's not really a starter. It's not a 1-card starter. So I put it to 2 just because like I'd rather search it than draw it. But drawing it isn't the worst. 1 Rev System, I think it becomes a lot better in this format because we can't link things off. So if we... and we don't have an easy way to revive something like with Clockwork Knight. So I think it's better to help extend. And obviously 1 Power Bond. You hate to draw it, but you play 1 because that's correct. 3 Molcharmy Foolos. I was also on Perulia in another iteration of this build, but I dropped them so that I could lower the amount of points for the deck and also pick up Droll and Lockbird. I don't know if I want to try this deck out again with Perulia in it, but I don't know. I'll have to see how I feel about the format again when I next play. I obviously didn't play anything really like super meta. I didn't play any against Radiant Typhoon at all, and that is the best deck in the format for the time being. I'm playing one Ghost Ogre just because I had points to spare and one card, like a single slot. So I put it in, but it never came up because it's obviously at 1. 3 Raigeki, I mentioned this before, but because I don't own Sparkly Dark Holes and I didn't want to play anything that could potentially wipe my own board, I opted for Raigeki instead, but I think Dark Hole would work just as well. 3 Ultimate Slayer. Obviously, I played 2 out of my 3 matchups. This wasn't even relevant, but it was relevant against Mermail, and it could have been relevant against other matchups if more players turned up. Double enemy 3 enemy controller and 3 final bringer. I absolutely love these cards. These are good pressure cards that you can activate in response to something. If your opponent activates something that targets your like core, you can, or your Chimera or something, you can just chain these, get them off the field so that they still resolve, and also pick off another interruption. So I think these are good cards, and they're also pretty versatile. So if you're forced to go first for whatever reason, they can also come in handy there. The extra deck, I don't think there's anything much to say about the extra deck. It's pretty standard. The Heosphar is a holdover from when I was playing Polymerization, so I'd probably switch it for something else. I could probably put Riverstormer in here so that I can grab Regulus, because I'm not playing that because Clockwork Knight isn't searchable anymore, and I don't want to play 3, it's bricky as hell. So, yeah, the Dingirsu I also like because it is, if you banish Hertz with Power Bond, and you think that you can't close out the game, you can attach the Hertz to Dingirsu when you summon it, and have some follow-up there. It's also just good destruction protection. And then I'm playing, obviously, Ultimate Slayer targets. Only Malong really came up, but I don't think I want to change the lineup there for the time being. 3DD Crow in the side deck because I was torn between that and IDP, but I opted for Crow just because it is more versatile. If I'm forced to go second, then Crow does not. Then Crow can actually do something, whereas IDP will just sit there in my hand and I'll miss the chance. Summon Breaker was absolutely disgusting when it came up, so I think I'm keeping it there. Metaverse is, I think, 3 points each right now. I think that's because of Mystic Mine, but Metaverse into Summon Breaker is ridiculously stupid. I think that Summon Break should be put to 100 points, personally, so that it's unplayable with Metaverse. Lost Wind is pretty good. Grave of the Super Ancient Organism, these never came up. They could have come up against Mermail and been really good. They also could have come up against Fire King, because I did side them in game 3, I think. But yeah, they just never came. Unfortunately, I never drew them. They never came up. I'm playing 2, so sometimes you draw it, sometimes you don't. And 1 copy of Overflow. As I mentioned, it's a pretty good card if you're going first and you already have an Embarrassment of Riches in your hand. So yeah, pretty good. Anyway, so I think Genesys is interesting. If Droll needs to go to higher points though, for sure. Otherwise it makes the game really unfun. But I had a lot of fun with this list. I might try something more control oriented, because Control Cyberdark is a concept I like a lot, but unfortunately I never got to play it in paper when it could have been good, back when Hulk and DPE were a thing. But I think it could be decent in this format, since the absence of Link Monsters makes decks a little bit slower. But yeah, so that's all from me. Let me know what you guys think of Genesys. I'm cautiously optimistic still, but I definitely want to try and play more. So yeah, any feedback about the deck, or any questions you have, I can answer in the comments, and I shall catch you guys in the next one.